Just like the cat I'd loved once, I thought I would land on my feet, though the ground was covered in ice.
Wow. Like, it was already too late. Like, she died. Basically, she broke her neck and died because she fell. Because she jumped and she fell a certain way and she broke her neck and she died. Damn. What's going on? It's your girl Maze reporting live from the gutter, back at it with another spooky, back at it with another video. You already know this the season. It's the season. We finna get into this little Christmas horror. I'm gonna be reacting to 3 Christmas horror stories. Well, they're true horror stories. 3 true Christmas horror stories. And yeah, we finna get into that. Before I get into it, if you're new to the channel, welcome to my channel. Go ahead and subscribe, hit that post notification bell, and just enjoy the video.
December had only just arrived when it happened. I was a mere 10 years of age, still naive as to what awaited me in the outside world. Every year, at the start of December, when the snow began to fall and the air froze, my family and I would dash out into the fresh morning snow, spending the entire weekend building snowmen, snow forts, and having snowball fights. But one year, we were met with a ghastly occurrence that forever changed how we saw Christmas. The Friday that came before the first weekend of December, my family and I...
Before I get into it, I should say, they kind of look a little bit zooted. I ain't gonna cap. They look a little bit zooted. But I'll be damned if something happened on Christmas, like if something bad happened. Because, Christmas is supposed to be the time where everyone just celebrates with their family. A good time, I feel like it. And I feel like if something bad was to happen, yeah, it would change the whole perspective of Christmas. I don't think I would like Christmas if something bad was to happen, because when Christmas comes, I'm always going to remember that.
We're all raving about our excitement towards the snow that was to come the next day, and our plans for what we were going to do in it. I went to bed soon after, brimming with anticipation, so much so that I could hardly sleep. I spent that night staring out of my window as a blanket of white covered it, drooling down the glass pane. Throughout the silence, I could make out the extremely faint noise of shuffling coming from outside, even the mild crunching of snow below boots. I wouldn't be surprised if people were already out as the snow fell, lavishing in it before the morning came out. What I found slightly unnerving was that the sound seemed to be coming from my garden. I remember it was at this point that my eyes began to close, and I was quick to fall into a great deep slumber soon after. The next morning, I leapt out of bed.
I feel like that's the only thing you can do is literally shut your eyes, close your eyes, because it's just like, what can you do? I'm going to just act like I ain't hear it. That's what I usually do. If I think I heard something that I ain't supposed to hear, I'm act like I didn't hear it. And I feel like that's the best thing he did was act like he was asleep.
Throwing open the wardrobe and piling on all the clothes I could find, preparing myself for the adventure outside. I could hear my sister and father doing the same, and I was sure my mother would join us later, after her lion, of course. Once ready, we all hurried down the stairs, bursting into the kitchen, grabbing the set of keys that opened the back door. As the keys twisted, I could already feel the cold gripping onto me, but the adrenaline kept it at bay. The door swung open. There was no snow, only weak little clumps dotted around the drenched grass. I could feel my heart sink, as well as that of my father and sister.
No snow, eh? It's alright. Let's go put on a film instead. I'm sure there'll be more to come later.
My father was extremely optimistic for the circumstances, but as they walked off with weighted steps, it looked like lines, like the snow had been removed systematically. But by who? I didn't think it was worth the trouble to think about, so I closed the door and joined my family for a movie. That night, the same routine played out. I laid in bed, watching as faint drops of snow drizzled from above, severing my vision from the outside world. That night, the same routine played out. Simultaneously, I was able to hear the sound of crunching grow louder and louder from outside. I crept out of my bed to look out the window, but the snow was too thick to see further than a couple of meters. I went back to bed, crossing my fingers, begging for the snow to remain. I slumped on my winter wear and joined my family as we walked down the stairs, making our way over to the back door, with a general air of fatigue hanging over us all. Once again, the door creaked open, only to reveal yet again
No snow.
no snow. Only subtle lines in the soaking wet grass.
Y'all don't want to see nobody happy? Y'all don't want to see nobody go make some snow angels, like snowman?
Do you wanna build a snowman?
But every day I get up, you try to go outside to go build a snowman. I don't see nothing. I'll be sick. I really will. I'll be trying to figure out what. Cause like it was pouring down snowing. Like it was like pouring down rain, pouring down snow. What is really going on?
I said the same thing as before, but I couldn't hear him. I was far too concerned with the lying grass. Dad, why are there lines in the grass?
Probably just from how the snow melted. But cheer up. Another movie day never hurt anyone.
Once again with the
There's some
optimism.
weird shit going on.
I wasn't entirely convinced, but what else was there to do? And with that, we all wandered drearily over to the sofa and spent the rest of the day watching movies. Then came the evening. It was pitch black outside when I heard a noise rustling about in the garden. I looked at my family, seeing if any of them heard it. Until all of a sudden, a loud bang hit the window. Alarmed, we all leapt up out of our skins. My sister began to cry, and my mother and father looked frantically at one another.
Wow.
Then towards the circle of snow dripping from the window. My father motioned for my mother to grab my sister and move to the back end of the living room. He then made his way over towards the window, searching for the source of the noise. He came closer and closer until his nose was practically up against the window, trying to peer out into the thick darkness. His expression dropped. Following me, I peered out the window next to him, and my eyes met with the dark figure outside. I stopped, feeling my blood freezing out of fear. My father beckoned for me to step back, to which I obliged as he opened the window.
At that point, I see a dark figure. Go get the shotgun. Go get something. We finna get him. We finna get him. He fucked up our Christmas. He fucked up our Christmas. That's how I would have been.
Hey! What the hell do you think you're doing? We got kids in here! Leave now, I'll call the police!
My dad shouted, waving his phone around. The man just stood there, holding a snowball in his right
Crazy.
hand, grinning wildly. My father closed the window, shutting it tightly, dialing the police as he did so whilst I stared at the man, feeling my eyes welling up with fear. He slowly raised his left hand and pointed a finger, first towards me, then towards him. As we waited for
Come
the
on,
police,
move.
the man
Move.
refused to leave. Instead,
No.
he remained standing there, grinning. Eventually, the police entered the house, but by the time they went out, he was gone. My father and I went out there with them.
The police don't do their job because it's like, okay, we letting you know it's something going on. Someone is literally in our front yard doing something. Y'all took so long, the man got away. So as long as y'all took, the man got away, I could have already did something my damn self on some real.
And after an extremely short search, the true horror became clear. Behind the shed, the only thing in the garden was a man-made igloo. This was where the snow had gone. This man had been just meters away from us for the last 2 nights. He may have left for now, but there was no telling what he was waiting here for. What if we had gone out there? Every year since, we checked the entire garden in case he returns. We weren't safe. Christmas is now rotten with fear.
I'm dead as fuck. Whole time, all the snow was gone. This man was making an igloo. But where did he go? I think that's more creepier because it's like from there on out, once the man showed himself, it's like you ain't never seen him again. Like he appeared and disappeared. And I think that's what makes it more creepier. And it's like, damn, like I couldn't even imagine, honestly. I couldn't even imagine what would be going through my head. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? And that's all I could think of. Like, what? Like, he did all this, took all the snow, made an igloo. What was he doing inside the igloo? Was he really staying inside all that snow?
Christmas is usually a time of peace and joy, but sometimes it's a time when the strangest and most horrific things can
This
happen.
is story 2.
The story is from when I was a kid. At that time, I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't run away from home or call the police. At that time, I could only depend on my parents to protect me. the moment they couldn't do it, I came face to face with death and almost didn't survive to tell the story. Truth be told, Christmas didn't used to be my favorite holiday. Make no mistake, I enjoyed the presents, the food, and the arrival of Santa Claus. But since my whole family was quite young and my parents had me when they were very young, I was the only boy in the family, except for my oldest aunt who had a baby. This was really very boring, since the party where the children were supposed to enjoy the most turned into a boring family dinner for adults. After we all gathered at the table to eat, I went to the dining room to play alone. And that's when it all started. At that moment, I thought maybe I had seen too many.
I'm telling you, all this stuff gotta be happening in the suburbs, because I'm telling you, Christmas in the hood, you think we finna allow all that stuff finna happen to us? No. You think all that stuff finna happen to us? No. Like, if you know, you know. Christmas in the hood is a little bit different from Christmas in the suburbs.
Horror movies, but I could have sworn I saw someone through the window, as if a shadow had run past. I approached the window to get a better look, but I couldn't see anything. I thought maybe it was my imagination.
I'm weak as fuck.
Behind the window was a man with a terrifying demon mask. The mask
Looking
had
like
a
the
huge
black
grin on
phone.
it. From behind the window, the man tapped on it slowly and pointed to the front door. As a kid, my first impulse was to walk away slowly. The man turned his head in disappointment. After that, he left the window and went in the direction of the front door. A few seconds later, someone started banging on it.
That must be Henry with the beer. I'll go get it.
Dad, don't open it! It's not Uncle Henry! It's a man in a demon mask!
What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind, Joshua? It's your uncle.
There was just a man at the window with the demon mask. I swear it's not Uncle Henry.
Don't
Hesitantly,
open.
my dad went to the door and looked through the peephole. After doing so, he raised his head and opened the door. My first instinct was to run away, but I stopped when I saw a familiar face. It was my Uncle Henry, just like my dad said.
Josh just mistook you for a demon.
I knew I shouldn't have got that haircut. Dad, I'm serious. There was a man with a mask in the window.
Josh, I know you're...
I'm weak. What if What if Uncle Henry was really playing a Christmas prank on them, where he really did see the man with the demon mask, but that was really Uncle Henry under the mask? We gonna see. We gonna find out.
bored, but you can't scare adults like that. You always do that.
I'm serious this time, I swear!
And I hate when parents don't never. I'm sorry, I keep stopping, but I always got something to say. Like, I hate when parents don't believe their kids. Like, your kid tell you one thing, but you gonna believe a stranger. You ain't gonna believe your kid. Like, you ain't gonna believe what your kid said. I honestly would have kind of got freaked out if my kid would have said that, but I would have took what he said into consideration. Like, I know my kid ain't tweaking. Like, and if he is tweaking, he just tweaking. But I know he not tweaking. Like, why would he even say that?
Without listening to me anymore, my dad had gone back to the kitchen with my uncle to put the beer away. I don't know how much I could blame him for not
I
believing me.
think it's a game.
As a kid, I used to make up imaginary friends. And that night, my dad was a little too drunk. I was very scared of this man, so I decided to continue playing in my room, going upstairs. Just in case, I locked the door with a chair. I spent a few minutes bored, knowing that at midnight my parents would come to pick me up to watch the fireworks. But I started to fall asleep. I didn't think I could stay awake a minute longer.
Josh, come down! It's already midnight. They're shooting fireworks.
From my bedroom window overlooking the courtyard, I could see beautiful fireworks covering the whole sky. I stared out my window. My family was already outside, watching the huge amount of lights in the sky. Suddenly, someone started banging on my door.
I'm weak. It's the chair on the door for me, so they already know what's up. Low key, I feel like it, because it's like, why is there a chair right there? I'm weak as fuck. Like, it's really a chair right here. Like, by the door, they got the chair hemmed up to the door. Why someone is banging on the door? Y'all know what's going on. Don't be naive, because when shit get real, it's gonna get real.
Coming! I was about to open it when I realized something. I looked out the window again. There's Mom, Dad, the uncles, grandparents, They're all downstairs. Then, who's banging at the door?
Right.
Kid, could you open the door for me, please? I just want to talk.
It's you, the guy with the mask! Get out of here or I'll tell my parents!
Oh, you don't want to do that. I'll be very angry.
Desperate, I opened the window and shouted to my parents.
Dad! Mom! Help! There's someone trying to get in my room!
At that moment, my parents got scared and tried to open the backyard door, but they couldn't do it. It was locked. Someone locked it from the inside. They started kicking it in desperation. Meanwhile, the voice behind me got louder and louder.
Didn't you hear me? I told you I would be angry!
Get out of here! I'm not opening it!
I would have thrown him in the
Come
window.
on, Josh. You'll like where I'm taking you. It's full of children's corpses you can play with. Josh, you know what I did to them all?
I'm not
I
trying to laugh at
strangled
you.
them. I did the same thing I'm going to do to you. I squeezed their necks with my huge hands and watched their lives go.
While he was saying this, the man with the mask was about to break the door. I saw the wood begin to break little by little. It wouldn't resist much longer. I looked out the window again. My family was still trying to break into the house any way they could. My father grabbed a rock and threw it at the window outside, breaking it. At that moment, the pounding in my room stopped. I looked back at the door. There was no one trying to break it, but someone was still behind it.
You know, Joshua, I've been watching you for weeks. When you get out of school, when you hang out at your friend Steven's house, when you go swimming. I could kill you whenever I want. I just wanted to do it at Christmas, to make it special, like I did with the other boys.
While the man was talking, I heard my dad come in through the broken window and shout from below.
Josh!
Next time I see you, little boy, I'll make sure it's not special. You're going to suffer a lot.
The voice was gone. A few seconds later, my father came up the stairs and into my room. A few seconds later, my mother and my aunt and my uncle came in. This time, no one doubted my story, as they all saw how someone tried to force my door open. When the police arrived, I listened as my father told them everything that had happened. At that moment, the psychopath not only took advantage of the fireworks to get in, but locked the door from the inside. After hearing the story, the cops assumed that everything was planned for me to stay in the house with him. All he had to do was watch us and wait for the moment to strike. And that's exactly what happened. After that, I didn't leave the house for weeks. There was always someone with me, and the police were always around. One night in February, the police came to my house telling me that they had caught the man. He called himself the Grinch, and as he told me, he was guilty of many disappearances of children my age, whose bodies turned up buried in his yard. The motive for the killings? He just wanted to make a name for himself, and thought there'd be nothing more shocking than killing children. Nothing was the same from that day on. Many years later, I still go to the psychiatrist because of that man. Every time I sleep, I dream about what would have happened if I hadn't locked the door to my room. I dream of him hanging me as promised. I dream that I'm a boy again and he comes looking for me at my school. I dream that once again, I'm helpless. He may be condemned to life in prison, but at the same time, he is still with me, and I feel that he always will be.
That was literally that story was crazy because no one listened to him until they realized whoever it was, the Grinch, locked the door while they're all outside, got in. Then he's literally been following him. This was real life Black Phone, like literally. Like the anime already gave Black Phone, but just with the green mask. But it was real life. Like this is real life the Black Phone. Like if y'all seen the movie, y'all gonna know. Like he was picking his victims out, and he said he took kids. So just imagine if he didn't peep all the stuff that he peeped. Like he was very observant. He was very aware, and that was good. Like he was aware of everything, because just like if he never did, the Grinch would have got him. Story 3.
I'm honestly not sure what I was thinking when I signed up for an anonymous Secret Santa program online. I was bored and lonely after a nasty breakup, and I desperately wanted someone to seek me out, to think of me. In retrospect, maybe I should have just tried online dating. Still, all I wanted was a gift. A single, heartwarming little bundle of joy. Gosh, even thinking that makes me roll my eyes. I've never been the sappy kind, but I just wanted to be cared for, just once in my life. Looks like that was far too much to ask for. I sighed, tapping the side of the small black box anxiously as I peered into it once more. Maybe its contents would be replaced by something more favorable, more normal, perhaps. Maybe I was just going crazy, and the present I got was completely normal. No matter how many times I looked away and back, the contents of the box remained exactly the same. What the? Pictures of me from when I was still married to my ex right up until now.
Wow.
Some were very recent. On one, I was decorating the Christmas tree in my cheesy patterned pajamas. But the thing was, something didn't quite add up. There were pictures where I knew there was no one in the house with me when they were taken. Where I was lounging on the couch, face tear-stained, hair messy, an awful sight, really. But there were photos where I was different. On some, I was smiling happily,
That's
staring
crazy.
nearly into the camera. On others, I was sleeping peacefully. I wanted to gag. Was this my mother pulling some wild prank on me? I'd fallen out with her a few years ago, roughly when I divorced my ex. She felt like I'd given up on a comfortable life because I didn't want to stay with that jerk, because I shook my head. My ex was the past, and I really needed to start thinking about him. He wasn't the reason why I was so distressed at the moment, after all. Maybe it was him? Maybe he's trying to force me to run back to his open arms, terrified? I mumbled to myself mostly, some of my words slurred together. My thoughts felt jumbled and body heavy, though it was likely due to the sock still barely allowing me to think clearly. Pat has moved on from me ages ago. Heck, we divorced because he moved on while we were still together. Stupid cheater. But then,
Right.
what was going on? No letter came with the photos, though they were all dated. On most of them, the ink was a bit smudged, as if they'd been pocketed quickly. That didn't really give me any better idea of the photographer behind them, but it felt a bit odd. Who are you kidding, girl? Whoever took these pictures is a lunatic, with or without the ink smudges. And yet, I felt just as crazy as I looked through them again and again, desperately trying to look for a signature, a name, or just anything.
It's like they know her
Found
whole
nothing.
life.
But then, it dawned on me. The website I'd signed up for was supposed to let me know where my present came from once I opened it. Ha! Looks like whoever they are, they won't stay anonymous for long. I'll just call the cops in. I said that perhaps a touch too haughtily. Half of my sentence was caught in my throat, silenced by the familiar thud of the main door being closed. Of course, I was so busy trying to comprehend the situation that I'd forgotten one important detail.
Lock the door.
Whoever had taken these photos,
Girl, you didn't even lock the door. You heard a loud bang from the door. Either she heard the bang or someone literally came inside the door and she don't even got time to even lock the door. Like, girl, you should have had everything locked. If you knew you had photos of people, everything would be locked. I feel like I would pick like newspaper. I would literally make the whole house black where nobody would be able to see nothing inside my house. It's the fact that whoever been stalking her knows what's up, like knows everything about her, knows if she locked the door, knows how she moving around the house, just knows everything, even watched her sleep, got pictures of her. This is crazy.
access to my house.
Exactly.
After all, most of them looked like they'd been taken from inside the house. Sure, maybe they'd been standing outside on something, perhaps straight behind the windows in that one spot that never got dusty, but there had to be some angles they couldn't get from there. Who's there? My voice sounded a lot raspier, a lot more scared suddenly. I stood up on shaky legs, bounding towards my bedroom's white wooden door to shut it before
Hey, don't worry. It's just your Secret Santa.
a pain.
Wow.
Just look for the mobile exclusive tag on thousands.
Familiar voice made me swallow hard.
Wow.
Pat. But why?
Her
It made sense, though.
ex-husband.
I don't think I ever asked him to give his key back when he left. My attorney urged me to do so, to communicate with him, but I refused. There was no way I could talk to him after all he'd done to me. After that, he abandoned me at my weakest. And yet,
Surprise!
the man whose voice I used to adore cheered. He sounded like he was
No, he tweaked out. Like, how you leave me and you want to come back and stalk me and make me look crazy talking about it's your Secret Santa? Like, what?
much closer now, sneaking up the stairs like the cat we used to have. The
He
cat
ready
that
for
he threw
something.
out on the streets because she was too loud.
Your mother told me that you were lonely. She's been asking some friends of yours to keep an eye on you, and well, it's clear that you never quite bounced back. I felt guilty, so I'm here to make things right, honey.
Why did I almost
He's talking,
believe
like, he's like talking about, I'm here to make things right. Honey, I'm home. That's what it's giving. Like, turn your ass right back around, please. Turn around and walk out that door, and yeah, because you got me over here tweaked out. I'm already looking crazy now, but I'm gonna even look more crazy because you're right here in front of me, looking crazy. He looked crazy. He looked like he just looked weird. He looked odd.
him for a second there. I trembled, pushing against the wall. He knew where he'd find me, of course, so I knew hiding was useless, but I felt desperate for that upper hand just for a second. He'd taken so much from me before, and he was suddenly back, destroying the one nice thing I'd wanted to do so badly. My only wish. I shook my head. No, he wasn't gonna do it. I had to. I had to do something. A shaky breath nearly got caught in my lungs when 3 quick knocks sounded on the bedroom door. It used to be familiar. It used to be our thing, just knocking on random surfaces to announce our arrivals or to get each other's attention, but it sounded threatening. It felt like if I allowed him in, something terrible would happen. I didn't realize I opened the window until I was standing in front of it, the merciless winter wind hitting me in the face every few seconds. It was so cold,
I would have
and I was
jumped.
up
I
quite
didn't
high,
care.
but I didn't care. I wanted the one way out.
Wait, honey, you need to...
I stood in the window for a few seconds, crossing my fingers that I'd be fine. Just like the cat I'd loved once, I thought I would land on my feet, though the ground was covered in ice. I didn't.
Wow. Wow. All I gotta say is wow. Like, this last story got me. Like, I ain't even gonna cap. This last story really got me because it's just like her ex-husband came back, stalked her. It's the ending for me. You would think it would be a different ending, but she jumped. I'm over here saying, oh, I would have jumped. I wouldn't care. Oh, the way it ended, I don't think I would have jumped. I don't think I would have jumped. I only would have jumped because the way he came in. But this last story got me because it's just like he's talking about wait, like it was already too late. Like she died. Basically, she broke her neck and died because she fell. Because she jumped and she fell a certain way and she broke her neck and she died. Damn.